Because of Jimin? Jungkook finally reveals the reason for crying, and Taehyung's arm shock reverberated across the global BTS community when Jungkook, the youngest and often the most resilient member of the world's most influential boy band, was seen in tears. Tears not hidden behind stage lights, not masked by rehearsed smiles, but openly breaking in the arms of Taehyung. The burning question that has ignited speculation across continents is simple yet deeply unsettling. Was Jungkook crying because of Jimin? And if so, what truth lies behind that silence? The incident did not unfold in a private corner shielded from the public eye, but in a moment where millions of fans were watching closely. What was meant to be a time of joy, Jungkook's 28th birthday, unexpectedly became an arena of tension, vulnerability, and unspoken grief. While global cities lit up in his honor, while ARMY engineered elaborate tributes across every continent, Jungkook's raw emotion exposed a fracture that no celebration could conceal. His tears and the embrace of Taehyung left the world asking, what happened to the golden magne who has so often carried the weight of expectation with an unshakable smile? Observers recall how the live stream that marked the occasion seemed cheerful on the surface. Jungkook joked about his chipped tooth, displayed gratitude toward ARMY, and shared anecdotes in his usual candid way. Yet beneath the laughter, sharp-eyed viewers caught glimpses of hesitation, subtle pauses, quiet sighs, and an almost imperceptible heaviness whenever the topic of his fellow members arose. The absence of Park Jimin, a figure inseparable from Jungkook's journey, a brother through both triumph and hardship, hung over the celebration like a shadow. Could it be that behind every smile Jungkook forced for the camera, there was sorrow too heavy to hide? Tradition has long dictated that BTS members mark each other's birthdays with messages, surprise appearances, or playful interactions. But this time, silence replaced solidarity. The missing presence of Jimin, especially on such a monumental occasion, was impossible to ignore. For millions, Jimin's absence was not just the absence of a greeting, it was the absence of a bond that has been at the very core of BTS's story. Fans began asking the question that no one could answer with certainty. Can a celebration ever feel complete when the one person who matters most is missing? What turned the mystery into heartbreak was not only Jimin's silence, but Jungkook's reaction. Eyewitness accounts from those close to the broadcast reported that off-camera, Jungkook appeared visibly shaken, wiping away tears in moments of silence. Later, during a private gathering, he was seen leaning into Taehyung's embrace, tears flowing in an unguarded display of pain. Why Taehyung? Perhaps because Taehyung, like Jimin, has shared years of trials with him, and in that moment of fracture, Jungkook sought comfort from the one person who could absorb the weight without judgment. The symbolism was stark. Jungkook, the youngest, adored worldwide, celebrated in neon lights and billboards from Times Square to Tokyo, was not leaning on the adoration of millions, but on the shoulder of a single friend. The contrast raised a haunting question. What value does global fame hold when the absence of one brother outweighs the applause of the entire world? Fans immediately tied Jungkook's emotion to Jimin's condition, with rumors of illness gaining momentum across social platforms. During the live stream, Jungkook's repeated mention of health only intensified speculation. "I'll try my best to live healthier," he said, but his tone carried an undertone that many interpreted as a coded message, an appeal not for himself alone, but for someone he deeply cares for. Was this his indirect way of acknowledging Jimin's struggle without saying his name? Social media turned into a battlefield of emotions. While some argued that the tears were purely personal, others insisted that they were directly tied to Jimin's absence. Twitter threads, TikTok edits, and YouTube breakdowns dissected every pause, every sigh, every flicker of expression. In one widely circulated clip, Jungkook's eyes visibly watered just before shifting topics, prompting fans to insist that his composure had cracked under the weight of concealed truth. Was this mere coincidence, or undeniable evidence of suppressed grief? The embrace with Taehyung only amplified the speculation. In that one gesture, an embrace raw, uncalculated, and impossible to stage, fans saw confirmation of Jungkook's emotional fracture. Taehyung's steady presence, his silent comfort, carried the weight of unspoken words. Was he consoling Jungkook over Jimin, or was the world misreading an intimate moment between friends? The lack of clarity only deepened the intrigue, fueling a cycle of speculation that spread faster than any official statement ever could. Beyond the emotional drama, the ethical dimension of this narrative cannot be ignored. Are fans justified in assuming Jungkook's pain was tied to Jimin when no direct confirmation exists? Does amplifying speculation about Jimin's health honor their bond, or does it reduce two human beings into characters trapped in a story written by strangers? The intensity of ARMY's devotion is undeniable, but so too is the danger of transforming loyalty into rumor, empathy into spectacle, and yet, the power of perception is difficult to dismiss. In the eyes of fans, Jungkook's visible sorrow was not just about missing greetings or broken traditions. It was about a fracture in the unshakable brotherhood that BTS has long symbolized. For over a decade, Jimin and Jungkook have shared countless stages, sleepless rehearsals, and quiet conversations that the world will never fully know. Their connection has been a pillar not just for them, but for ARMY itself. To imagine that bond disrupted, even momentarily, was enough to send tremors across continents. The paradox of Jungkook's birthday was cruelly clear. On one hand, his image was projected onto landmarks, his name immortalized in lights, his presence celebrated by millions. On the other hand, he carried an absence so heavy that not even global adoration could erase it. His tears, cradled in Taehyung's arms, became the defining moment of the night, a reminder that even global icons, immortalized by fans, remain deeply human, capable of breaking, of missing, of longing. What remains unresolved is the question that has haunted every corner of this story. Was Jungkook crying because of Jimin? Or was he crying because of the crushing burden of fame, the loneliness of celebration without true companionship, the exhaustion of living under a microscope where even silence becomes spectacle? The absence of answers only fuels the mystery, leaving fans torn between belief and skepticism. In the end, Jungkook's tears may never be explained in official words, but their impact is undeniable. They transformed his birthday from a celebration of fame into a moment of raw vulnerability. They exposed the fragile humanity beneath the polished image of superstardom. And they forced millions to confront an uncomfortable reality. Even legends break. Even the strongest bonds ache in silence. And sometimes, the loudest message comes not from words, but from tears shed in the arms of a friend. So the world is left with questions that may never find answers. Did Jungkook cry because of Jimin? Did Taehyung's embrace shield him from a truth too heavy to carry alone? Or did global audiences, hungry for drama, create a narrative from fragments of silence? What is certain is this: Jungkook's tears have become more than a personal moment. They have become a mirror reflecting not only the fragility of idols, but also the complicity of audiences who consume their pain as spectacle. And that is why the question endures, louder than ever. Because of Jimin, did Jungkook finally reveal the reason for his tears, or did the world simply choose to believe what it wanted to see? Under the relentless spotlight of global attention, the unanswered question continues to echo. Did Jungkook's tears truly point toward Jimin, or were they simply the visible cracks of a man carrying too much for too long? The speculation may never find definitive closure, yet the power of that moment cannot be dismissed. Millions witnessed a glimpse of humanity that no performance or perfectly scripted event could deliver. The embrace with Taehyung, tender and unguarded, has since become symbolic of something larger than a private sorrow. It stands as a reminder that even at the height of fame, the bonds between members remain the most unshakable refuge. For fans, the absence of Jimin has become both an enigma and a painful reminder of how fragile even the strongest ties can feel under silence. For Jungkook, his vulnerability became an unintentional confession, one that required no words. The sight of him seeking solace in Taehyung's arms spoke louder than any official explanation ever could. Yet in the absence of confirmation, the world is left balancing between fact and interpretation, torn between truth and the hunger for meaning. In the end, whether those tears belong to Jimin's absence, to the crushing weight of solitude, or to the endless demands of global adoration, the message is clear. Idols are not immune to breaking. Jungkook's birthday will not be remembered solely for its grand celebrations, but for the unguarded moment when the brightest star showed his most fragile light. And it is there, in that fragility, that the story of Jungkook and Jimin continues to live, unfinished, unanswered, and more powerful than ever did IN's silence and mystery. Jungkook's tears became a timeless question. Was it Jimin, or something deeper? Whatever the truth, that fragile moment turned into their most powerful connection. The scene that has been circulating online, Jungkook appearing visibly distressed, his tears allegedly tied to Jimin's health or absence, has prompted widespread debate. Yet one must ask with unflinching seriousness, is this moment genuine? Or is it a carefully orchestrated spectacle designed to provoke emotional reactions and drive mass engagement? Can we, as observers, accept what is shown to us without hesitation, or should we pause, dissect, and interrogate the very fabric of the narrative being constructed before our eyes? Every report, every video clip, every photograph that emerges on platforms such as TikTok, YouTube, Twitter, and secondary media outlets carries with it a burden of interpretation. Do these fragments of information reflect reality, or are they shadows deliberately cast to create illusions of authenticity? If Jungkook did indeed weep due to concerns about Jimin, what does that reveal about the immense pressures placed upon both men as global figures? Conversely, if the scene is exaggerated or misrepresented, what does that reveal about the manipulative mechanisms of media ecosystems that thrive on amplifying ambiguity? Consider the sources from which this narrative originates. TikTok offers fleeting moments edited for maximum virality. YouTube thrives on algorithms that reward emotionally charged content. Twitter, with its brevity and immediacy, magnifies speculation faster than it confirms facts. Should one not ask whether these platforms are inherently designed to prioritize sensationalism over truth? And if so, how much weight should any rational observer grant to reports derived from them? It is crucial to recognize that public perception does not necessarily align with objective fact. The collective imagination often becomes entangled with fragments of truth, weaving them into stories that may never have occurred. Are we not, therefore, at risk of becoming complicit in perpetuating myths when we consume such narratives without resistance? Are we not participants in a vast cycle of exaggeration and speculation, rather than seekers of verifiable truth? Moreover, we must ask why the narrative of Jungkook's tears resonates so deeply with audiences worldwide. Is it because it reinforces a long-held perception of the bond between Jungkook and Jimin? Or is it because audiences crave a narrative of vulnerability from individuals so often presented as untouchable icons? Does this emotional framing serve the fans, or does it serve the media corporations that profit from every click, every share, every whisper of rumor amplified across platforms? The ambiguity here is profound. On one hand, we are presented with a deeply human moment: tears, concern, the possibility of illness or absence. On the other hand, we are confronted with the machinery of media manipulation that capitalizes on human empathy. Which of these is closer to the truth, and which is merely performance? If truth itself becomes blurred within this space, how do we, as discerning readers and viewers, reclaim our capacity to distinguish reality from illusion? Skepticism must be our compass. One must interrogate every frame of video. Was it edited selectively? Was the audio enhanced to create a false impression of sobbing? Were captions or subtitles designed to steer interpretation? Without verified evidence, why should any of us accept the narrative at face value? Furthermore, who benefits from the spread of this story? Jungkook and Jimin themselves, their management, the platforms that monetize attention, or the anonymous creators who gain clout from viral speculation? The danger lies not only in potential misinformation, but also in the erosion of critical thought. When we consume stories like these uncritically, do we not risk surrendering our ability to question? When tears are displayed, are we conditioned to believe instantly, or are we capable of restraining our impulses and demanding substantiated proof? In this sense, the responsibility falls not only on media producers, but also on consumers who either amplify or resist the narrative. What, then, is the ethical position for a reader or viewer confronted with such a story? Should we dismiss it outright as hoax until proven otherwise? Or should we cautiously entertain its possibility while withholding judgment? Is neutrality even possible in an environment where emotion is deliberately provoked to override rational analysis? Every individual must decide, yet every decision contributes to the broader cultural climate in which truth itself is negotiated. Another question arises: why now? Why is this moment being circulated with such intensity at this precise time? Could it be coincidental, or does its timing coincide with strategic promotional cycles, anniversaries, or corporate objectives? If so, are we not witnessing less a spontaneous event and more a calculated deployment of imagery intended to manipulate public sentiment? And if that is the case, can we truly separate the personal grief of an artist from the corporate strategies of an industry built upon commodifying human emotion? In evaluating this incident, one must consider historical precedents. How often have celebrities been portrayed in ways later revealed to be distorted? How often have fans been led to believe in crises that were later exposed as exaggerations? Does the recurrence of such incidents not demand heightened vigilance, rather than unquestioned acceptance? If we fail to learn from these patterns, are we not doomed to repeat the cycle of consumption and disillusionment? The fundamental issue here is not merely whether Jungkook cried for Jimin, but whether we, as a collective audience, are prepared to confront the unsettling possibility that what we witness may not be real. Can we tolerate the discomfort of uncertainty, or do we seek closure so desperately that we embrace any narrative, however unverified, that offers emotional resolution? This tension between uncertainty and desire for clarity lies at the core of media consumption in the digital age. Therefore, the questions must be relentless. Do you, the reader, truly believe this event occurred as described? Or do you suspect that unseen hands shaped the narrative to secure your attention? Do you trust the platforms on which this story spread? Do you trust the individuals who amplified it? Most critically, do you trust yourself to discern truth from fabrication? If doubt unsettles you, it should. Doubt is not weakness. It is the foundation of intellectual strength. To question does not mean to reject outright, but to suspend judgment until evidence is incontrovertible. Are we not ethically obligated to practice this suspension, especially in a world where misinformation circulates with unprecedented velocity? To do otherwise is to risk becoming pawns in a system that thrives on our unquestioning engagement. One must also reflect upon the psychological consequences of these narratives for fans themselves. When individuals invest deeply in the emotional lives of public figures, they may find themselves vulnerable to manipulation. If the story of Jungkook's tears is fabricated, then countless fans worldwide have had their emotions exploited for profit. Should this not provoke outrage? Should it not awaken a demand for greater transparency and accountability from both media producers and distributors? And yet, if the story is true, if Jungkook's tears are indeed a window into genuine suffering, should that not provoke a different kind of reflection? Should we not then ask whether our consumption of such moments is ethical? Is it justifiable to turn a private moment of pain into public spectacle? Does our hunger for authenticity cross into voyeurism, stripping individuals of their right to grieve or suffer without intrusion. This dilemma forces us into uncomfortable but necessary territory. We must confront the dual possibility. Either we are victims of media deception, or we are complicit in consuming another's vulnerability. Both outcomes are troubling. Both demand that we reconsider not only how we interpret media, but how we participate in its circulation. Therefore, as you reflect upon this narrative, let every question linger. Was it true? Was it false? Was it both in different ways, depending on perspective and intent? Do you, as a reader, accept the story without hesitation, or do you resist, interrogate, and demand substantiation? Your answer defines not only your relationship to this event, but also your role within the larger system of global media consumption. In conclusion, the story of Jungkook's tears, whether authentic or manufactured, serves as a mirror reflecting our collective vulnerability to narrative manipulation. The burden lies not only on creators of content, but on each of us as interpreters. Will you, the reader, choose to believe? Will you choose to doubt? Or will you choose to inhabit the difficult but essential space of critical reflection, where truth is neither assumed nor dismissed, but pursued with rigor? The choice is yours. Yet remember, in an age where the line between fact and fabrication grows ever thinner, to remain passive is to be deceived. Every reader must now confront a final dilemma. Is this narrative a faithful reflection of reality? Or is it an elaborate fabrication designed to manipulate collective emotions? Can one truly distinguish sincerity from spectacle when the lines between fact and fiction are so deliberately blurred? If this entire episode is genuine, then its emotional weight is undeniable. Yet, if it is a construct, its very existence exposes the fragility of trust in modern media. Which position do you, as a critical observer, ultimately choose to embrace? Conviction in authenticity, or suspicion of calculated illusion? In the end, truth or illusion may not matter. What lingers is the feeling. That fragile emotion binds people, reminding us that even in uncertainty,